coast of the southeast U.S., a 40% chance of development in 7 days, with a low chance of 10% in the next 2 days. The system, although you can see on the satellite loop, the northern edge of the tropical wave is not doing much right now. It's forecast, once it moves northward some, is forecast to, when it gains latitude, is forecast to become either a tropical depression. Well, it's got a 50% chance right now. Not forecast, it's got a 50% chance. If we look at the infrared satellite loop here, this shows the deeper reds, oranges, higher, colder cloud tops. See what I'm talking about here? This is along the intertropical convergence zone, which is where the trade winds come together from both hemispheres, northern and southern hemispheres. So we expect convection along that. Tropical waves move east to west in the tropical Atlantic, and if the conditions are right and there's enough convection and rising motion, they can develop a circulation and eventually become tropical cyclone. But right now, the conditions don't look that great for it to develop in the short term anyway. And of course, the system off the coast here, not a lot of convection associated with it either. And looking at the recent Weather Lab cyclone preview model, experimental models, AA models, and European ensembles in high res, we go through time here, shows Dexter moving to the North Atlantic. The potential system off the East Coast here, kind of not really forecast to do much, at least on these models. And see where the dots are, that just indicates one ensemble member or member of that group. Then you get further in time, and the European model drops out of this because it's this run, it doesn't go that far out. So if we look at the future evolution possibilities of the system off the East Coast, first we'll look at the GFS 31 member ensemble models. So every run they perturbate the model initial parameters just a little bit with between 31 members to simulate uncertainty in the initial conditions. And what this does is gives different outputs on where the low pressure centers might be. You can see lows on the, like where Dexter is and other places on the map here. And these numbers just represent the sea level, the pressure of the system that the model thinks would be there. So we have maybe 10, 15 members agree something will be there, move forward in time, moves to the northeast by the 11th, which is 5 days from now, and doesn't really congeal into much. Maybe something out here in the east of the mid-Atlantic coast. But still, most of these members are really weak. So we're looking at maybe a weak tropical depression at best here. As far as the other system down here in the tropical Atlantic, the South Atlantic, it wants to, the models are really split on where this might go. We have some members going down the Caribbean, which is likely initially following the east, the easterlies, the trade winds, and then intensifying maybe. See the sharper circles here, that would indicate lower pressures, 72, 76, different ones. This is 8 days out. So these are pressures, like each pressure center is denoted by a number. So 972, 975, which is category 2, a weak category 3 hurricane, maybe. But that's just one model output. So you see they're all over the place. Not a lot of consensus here. Go back. And even here, there's not a whole lot of members that agree. They have more members agree with another wave coming off of Africa here, at least to start with. So if you look at the super ensemble, we have, and listen, guys, these are just model runs, and things change relatively quickly, but these are the tools that we have to use to figure out what we think is going to be going on in the future. Sometimes models are totally out to lunch on stuff, but usually they do pretty good, just in a general sense. Anyway, see what it does with this, as some members appear north of the Lesser Antilles and some developing something here. And you can see the wave axis right there. But the one off the Atlantic coast, I'm not that impressed with anything happening here. And if I go to the European ensemble, which is 51 members, that's Dexter. Move forward. It really agrees about this system being very coherent down here in the along the neotropical convergence zone. And there is really a remarkable amount of agreement for a longer period here. And see how it wants to develop this system more as we get. This is the latest run we have. Let me check again. Yeah, it's the latest run we have for the European ensembles. I'm recording this at like 4:30 in the morning, so this says remarkable agreement compared to the other models. Has a lot of agreement in general about a system right here, and not really. They have agreement, but that doesn't really show any low center that's really formed here. The same thing with maybe broad area in both places. General theme here, there's still a lot of uncertainty in the forecast. And this is echoed by the well, what's driving this uncertainty? Let's go with that here. If you look at the wind shear in the atmosphere, which is the, the bane of a tropical cyclone's existence. If you have wind shear, which is denoted by the deeper colors here, over top of a cyclone that's trying to develop, it's going to have it's going to really struggle. You see here you have some really strong shear on the south side of this potential tropical system in the southern Atlantic Ocean. And the EPS, it is kind of underneath a high pressure cell right there. And it does have some polar outflow. You can see the system over the Atlantic. And even that other wave, this system kind of gets lost in the flow here. Another way you can look at this is the precip and moisture in the atmosphere. We have to go to the European model for that. Relative humidity. You see the dark browns? That's really dry air in the mid levels. And if you have a lot of dry in the mid levels, tropical system's going to have a lot of trouble getting going. You see the tropical system out here in the mid Atlantic is surrounded by dry air and kind of strung out. This system that it shows, that tropical system on the southeast coast moves northeastward, mostly dry air on its eastern side, which it may never become fully tropical. We just have to see if it does develop. And eventually, you see what happens here. Lots and lots of dry air surrounding this system, too. If we go to the GFS model with the same 7 to 300 relative humidity and wind, kind of plays out the same scenario here. Not a lot of moisture with this system in the mid levels. And that's probably what's going to keep it from developing very much, in addition to wind shear to its north. See how it never really gets going here. And so the system down here in the tropical Atlantic, it wants to do something totally different with it. And maybe it wants to develop something later on out here in the Caribbean. It kind of skirts underneath all the deep layer shear. Look at the simulated IR satellite. It's interesting. Doesn't go that far out. But you can see what we're looking at here with the tropical system. See it right there? This is a pretty cool representation. And you see it off the northeast coastline. You see that kind of looks like a shrimp shaped system with all the moisture on its eastern side. And this system's kind of strung out right here with most of the deconvection down here, possibly getting going. But as we saw, it never really does anything. It wants to it maybe wants to get going up here, but nothing really happens. And then finally something, let's put something in the Gulf, get big Campeche, 15 days from now. But this model's been all over the place with that, and that's way too far out to really predict anything. So that may not even be the same. So you have your tropical system going this way. You have another piece of energy going to the south. So it looks like the GFS is taking two different pieces of energy here and wanting to split them off, develop something in the Caribbean. Anyway, I'm not that gung-ho about the system developing off the East Coast. If it does, it'll just likely bring some unsettled weather to the southeast coast. Eventually, it'll move offshore and maybe developing the tropical characteristics. And I've showed you all this before, but this is the phase space diagram. It gives a forecaster a good idea what the models think the forecast evolution of the core of the system is, whether it becomes fully tropical or not. And it did pretty good with Dexter. So you can see here A is the beginning where the system is, Z is where the end of the forecast is, which is Saturday, 9 August. So symmetric cold core, asymmetric cold core. It's right on the cusp of being a warm core system, but never really makes it. This is the lower troposphere thermal wind versus lower troposphere frontal nature. So definitely indicating asymmetric cold core. And it still remains very shallow between the shallow and deep cold core. And the lower tropospheric wind versus the upper tropospheric thermal wind, which means it's not a vertical system that you would see like with a tropical system with a warm core. Although it's on the verge of maybe becoming a shallow warm core with this is the European output. As far as sea surface temps on the possible path of this, definitely warm enough. You see it, excuse me, the 26C thermal gradient up here. As long as it stays to the south or along that gradient, it has a good chance, at least from a sea surface temp point of view, to develop. And if you look at this is another current track on SST output. I'm still trying to figure out what the difference between these two is, but you can see it never wants to get it below 1015 millibars at least. Excuse me, at least with this output. If we look at the other system, potentially out here, at least right now, it's currently symmetric, right on the verge of symmetric warm core, but it's indicating it will never make it to tropical cyclone. And you can see it passes over, at least from this forecast, it passes over some colder water. And wants to develop it some, but if it's in this green area, it doesn't have a lot of chance of developing very much, at least right in the short term. Anyway, that's all for the tropics right now. We're just going to keep an eye on the systems there, and keep listening to my and watching my social media and things like that, and I'll be posting stuff as I see it's necessary. Next, I'm going to go over current conditions, excessive rainfall outlook, severe weather outlook, and forecast for